Fun and informative podcast all about training working dogs? Look no further than the LWDG Pod Dog. This weekly show is hosted by me, Jo Perrott, founder of the Ladies Working Dog Group, and I chat to experienced trainers and experts in the field who will give you helpful tips and advice. Whether you're just getting started or you've been working dogs for years, this podcast will have something for you. So pull up a chair, pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to LWDG Pod Dog. And let us help you build a better bond with your best friend. Hello and welcome to another episode of LWDG Pod Dog. This week we're talking to the amazing Natasha Filler all about mantrailing and why it's so addictive. How are you, Natasha?
I'm very well, thank you.
So Natasha, before we even start talking about mantrailing and how you got into it, let's talk about how you got into working dogs in the first place.
So my background, I started with horses, like many dog trainers. I've been involved with horses since I was tiny, and then went to university and studied equine science, came out, worked and competed with lots of them. And then a few years ago, I lost my last horse and I just couldn't face having another one. And I'd already got dogs, so then I became a collector of dogs. And then I became a dog walker through a very good trainer. Friends of mine poked me to become a dog walker for reactive and dogs that need space. So I do one-to-one walking. And then I naturally sort of progressed into learning more about dog training and became a dog trainer, and realised that the dog's nose kind of floated my boat. So I became a scent work instructor and then specialised and became a mantrailing instructor after becoming very addicted with my own dogs.
So you started out working with horses like many of us do, and then you went on to working with dogs. Did you always want to work with the high energy dogs, or did you start out working with every type of dog?
So it started off as all dogs. I've had springers and working dogs in my life for a very long time. My granddad had springers and so did my great uncle and worked them. So I've always been around the higher energy dog, and it kind of, floats my boat. I like to do stuff. I'm not a person that can sit on the sofa cuddled up. But I had a rescue toy poodle, which I struggled to find out what made her click. She was really quite shut down. So I started dog training and then as a handler, and that kind of opened all the doors. And I started to find out that I was really interested in different body language and how to get a dog to unlock its personality. And then that kind of leads into the high energy dogs and everything else. So I eked down the dog sport route, and that's how I got there.
It is quite interesting, isn't it? Because my daughter has a Cavapoo. He used to do some sort of gun dog training with us. He would sort of get involved, but not completely. But now she takes it to agility. It's a little flying machine. She's going to start competing with it. The whole new activity really brings the dog alive. It is interesting how our high energy dogs can end up doing many different hobbies that they truly love.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 4 dogs currently, and different dog sports float their boat. It means I'm constantly on the go and constantly busy because none of them really do the same activity. There's a few crossovers. I've got Chihuahua. She loves doing trick training. She goes absolutely mental and manic for it. Loves doing parkour and being really busy, especially for a Chihuahua. She's just full of energy. I've got 2 poodles. One now is retired, but he did canny sports and a bit of tricks. He's very subdued, quite quiet, likes obedience. Not so much now. He's now become an old man that's gone, I don't remember anything. I have no recall whatsoever. And then my other poodle, he's 3. He's very busy, but he's very nose orientated, loves his scent work, loves mantrailing, but also loves hoopers and the canny sports, the canny cross and the bike during. And then recently I got a Sprocker, back to my roots of spaniels, and yeah, he's like a whirlwind. Loves gun dog work. That was never intended with him. He was going to be an operational scent dog. He's very good at it, but doesn't float his boat. Shoved a dummy in front of him and went, that's what I'm here to do. So he got me back into the gun dog stuff, but he loves to run. So chuck him in a harness, and he loves his canny sports and his Mantrailing.
There used to be this idea, didn't there, that a dog could only do sort of one working sport, but now we're seeing these dual purpose, multi-purpose dogs that can be doing, gun dog training on a Saturday, canicross on a Tuesday, can be doing scent work on a Thursday, and they could really be involved in multiple types of hobbies with us.
Yeah, and I like the fact that if you get the right trainer, they can work with everything. So Saturday, for example, with my spaniel, we were Mantrailing. I haven't man-trailed particularly hard for a while with him. We were doing some really hard trails with one of our head instructors, and with the gun dog stuff, he's learned to use his nose in a different way, and it started to affect his Mantrailing. So you can get things that kind of in theory seem the same, but when you break things down, you go, so you really have to be clever with some of the stuff that you do to make sure that they don't contradict each other. But I think it's great that we have so many dogs out there now that can be an all-round family dog, can go out and work one day, but then the next day they're at the pub by your feet going to sleep.
So for listeners who are listening to us today, what exactly is Mantrailing?
So Mantrailing is a fairly new sport over here, and it is, as I say, really addictive, massively addictive. I get so many people that are like, I've done an intro and I must start trailing now. And it is a brilliant natural way of your dog using their natural instincts. So we use a combination of ground and air scenting to find a specific missing person. Where other tracking and stuff, they use only ground disturbance, search and rescue is only air. We use the natural dog's ability. So it's actually a lot quicker for the dog to grasp the idea of the game, because you're not having to make sure that their nose is stuck to the floor like you do in tracking.
Fantastic. So if I was to take my dog out today and go to a Mantrailing event, what is it exactly that we would do?
So lots of people find it a bit silly. So there'll always be a missing person, and that missing person at the beginning will be present for the dog to see where they're going. They get the dog really nice and excited. Lots of cute puppy voices, high-pitched, running off with their favourite toy or treat. And then you'll have the dog team. So you have your dog and your handler. The dog will be in a correctly fitting harness, so it keeps them nice and comfortable and safe. You'll be attached to the line. And then after doing some of the rituals that we do, the dog will then head off after the MISPA. To start with, your trails are nice and short, so the dog doesn't have to work too hard and gets their reward quite quickly. But the more advanced you go, you can not stop. We've got kilometre-long trails, hour-long trails, but it's all fun and games through the undergrowth. As I learned on Saturday, don't wear shorts. But yeah, it's great fun. You get lots of members of the public looking at you as you're hiding out in the wood with these pots of food, looking at you like, what are you doing? But yeah, so it's great fun. Lots of in the countryside, hiding in woodlands and standing around in car parks.
Fantastic. Now that sounds super high energy, super good for the dog, super good for you. Who exactly can do Mantrailing?
Anybody. This is what I love about this sport. Anybody can do it. Any person, any dog, as long as they've got a clean bill of health and the vet is quite happy for the dog to do it. Anybody. We've got all different types of breeds, from your obvious breeds of hounds right through to tiny chihuahuas, pugs, French bulldogs, all sorts. Because we work the dog individually, We can cater every trail for the dog that's in front of us. So anybody can come along to the session, whether you're advanced or a beginner, and do whatever trails there. And that's what's fun, because the people that are just starting out can see what it's like to be more advanced, and the more advanced people can help the other people move along. We can also cater for any person. We've got people that trail in wheelchairs. We've got people that trail that have got mobility issues, just because we can cater everything for that particular person and that particular dog.
This sounds loads of fun. So how does it help you and your dog? Does it build teamwork? Does it build bonds? How exactly would it help me and my dog?
Definitely helps to build bonds and teamwork, because you're working together, and the dog, you haven't got the nose of a dog. So the dog has to work. So the dog learns to become a little bit more independent, but relies on you for a little bit of confidence. The dog learns that you never put them in a situation that is scary or is going to harm them, but they also get to harness their natural instincts and be able to use them without getting nagged at or be told that it's not right. It also helps dogs that do have reactivities to whatever's going on, because we can cater again for them. So if they're particularly people worried about people, dog people aggressive and anything like that, we change it up. So the misper will be hiding, but the reward will either come from somebody that the dog already trusts, or will be out in front of the missing person. So it's getting their reward and the person's there but not in their space. And then slowly we can change things up as the dog gets more confident. People can get closer to the rewards. And because there's certain ways that we run the start of our Mantrailing, the dog soon learns that when this happens, I'm working. So then when I'm working, no one gets in my space. So then the dog starts to forget, if it's dog reactive, that there's a dog over there or there's a person over there, because I'm working. And it starts to eke out into their everyday life. And because Mantrailing is a lot for us about learning to read the dog's body language, because we need to know whether they're going the right direction or not, we start to learn their body language out on a walk or in the local park, or when we're at the vets and we're like, hang on a minute, that dog he's gone a bit tense. Hang on a minute, we can solve this problem before it turns into a problem. And the dog goes, mum and dad are on it. They know what I'm saying without having to step over my threshold, which is great.
This must be great for a dog that needs to be both mentally and physically stimulated, to be focused when it's in an environment, rather than just sort of running from this thing to this thing, from this dog to this duck, and not doing anything other than just getting physical exercise. This really is a proper mental and physical workout, isn't it?
Guaranteed. I get so many photos at the end of sessions, especially from my newbies, that go, oh my God, he slept. And I get photos of absolutely zonked out dogs that are like belly up, poke them, nothing. The dog is out for the count. And they're like, oh, I can't believe he's so tired. I'm like, because you physically and you've mentally tired them out. They've used their brain, they've used their nose. It takes a lot for them to figure out what's going on. They have to distinguish and have self-control. I need to sniff that scent to find the missing person, not the bunny that's just jumped over there. So it takes a lot of power for them to do Mantrailing. And yeah, that is a definite upside of a side effect of Mantrailing, is that if you go Mantrailing in the morning, your dog is out for the count for the rest of the day.
We have so many people who say, my dog is mentally not getting the workout it needs, it's physically just getting fitter and fitter, but when it comes back in the house, it's not switching off. So something like this must be fantastic for it. If somebody's new and wants to do Mantrailing, what equipment do they need? What do they need to get beforehand? Why do they need to get it?
So right at the beginning, you will do an intro with an instructor, which is basically a session which teaches you and your dog what is involved. What for us and for an instructor and for the handler to find out what's rewarding for the dog, because obviously your dog's not going to work for absolutely nothing, and to make sure that you're safe in doing it. So we need to have a nice fitted Y-fronted harness that allows for pull. There's lots of harnesses out there that are either designed to be uncomfortable for the dog to pull in or just aren't generally designed for a pull. So I always recommend like the Canny Cross harnesses that are literally designed for the dog to pull into. A really secure, strong line, because your dog's going to be working in front of you at a fair distance, so you'll be able to read the dog's body language. We usually recommend about 7.5 to 10 metre long line. And then rewards for your dog. And that's completely individual to every single dog. Some dogs are super food motivated, but when they come to do Mantrailing, actually what they find more interesting is hunting. So then when the person, especially the spaniels, so when the person at the end of the thing has a bit of kibble, they're like, I'd rather carry on hunting, thank you. So we need to find out what makes a dog tick, whether it be food or a toy or a tug. We have a few within Mantrailing kit that are ancient breeds that like things like blades of grass, feathers, just floating around in front of them, and they're quite happy to carry them back. So it's very individual. And then a good pair of gloves. As you move on, a good pair of gloves, because they can get quite strong and it hurts your hands.
When we started this call, I had this sort of concept of Mantrailing, because I've never been Mantrailing, that it would literally be like almost like Canny Cross, type the dog, going flat out, running everywhere. But as you're talking, I'm sort of imagining a far slower pace where we are hunting together, enjoying ourselves, and more of a control sport. Is that right?
Yeah, one of our major rules for Mantrailing is no running. If you start running, it goes wrong quickly. Either you'll be pulled over, or you will overshoot potential junction with your scent. And that's what's great, because everyone goes, oh, but I can't run, but you don't need to run. And if you've got a strong pulling dog, you've always got your instructor behind you. We can always put another line on to help anchor, because some dogs are big and are strong and get very excited in what they're doing. But it's not quite as slow and methodical as tracking, but it is all about keeping the pace at a lower level. So that's where the bonding and the confidence as a team comes in, because you need to work together. The dog needs to understand that you've only got 2 legs and it's not as easy for you to jump over brambles, as you need to understand that you can't stop them too much, otherwise you put them off their trail.
Coming from a background of fox hunting, when you first started talking about this, I literally thought, oh my God, a horse can't keep up sometimes with foxhounds. So how am I going to keep up with my dog? So it is very nice of you to clear that part up, because I was a little bit panicky, I've got to be honest. For somebody interested in doing this now, if they are training their dog for gun dog work, is this going to be something that can go alongside that? Is it going to affect it? Can you do both? Should you only do one or the other?
I don't know if it particularly helps, but it certainly doesn't hinder. My spaniel, he's now 16 months and he's been Mantrailing since he was 8 weeks or 10 weeks old, and has been doing gun dog work since he was about 6 months. And it certainly doesn't hinder his gun dog work, and his gun dog work doesn't really hinder his Mantrailing. We have a set ritual that always happens at the beginning of every trail we do on Mantrailing. So for a dog that sparks, this is the job I'm doing. When I go and do gun dog work, he's not put in a harness. It's all completely different. So he will walk nicely on his slip lead at gun dog work when we're out walking and everything else. But I go and chuck a harness on him and he pulls me like a train. Hence why I don't now walk him out normal walks in a harness, because it's not enjoyable. So because there's a difference, and I do make that really clear to all of my dogs, because I do allow them to pull in harness, they don't walk in a harness. That's just quite simply, some people go, well, different harnesses the dogs can learn. They can, and I'm going to do a comparison. For us women, if we're in a bra, a normal bra, we don't really want to run in it, but if we have to, we will. If we're in a sports bra, we're okay to run. If we don't wear a bra, you're not going to catch us running for a bus. And I kind of explain that's how I explain a harness for a dog. I have a really clear cut. If you're in a harness, you can pull. If you're not in a harness, you're not allowed to pull. There's no, oh, well, this harness feels a bit different, but you're more likely to get pulling and have an annoying walk because you're going to nag them. So I don't think it affects gun dog work at all.
And that's a big ask of a new handler, isn't it? To be able to teach the differences, the nuances between two harnesses to a young dog, so that he knows in one I'm going to pull like mad and in the other I'm not going to pull at all. So yeah, I fully agree with you on this. For somebody trying to get hold of you, to find out more about the sport, to find out more about your background, what you train, etc., how can they get hold of you? What's the best way to find out more?
So you can always come and find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube with Poodaroo Follow the Nose. But if you're just too far away from me, Mantrailing UK have a website and they have a find an instructor button. And so you can find any instructor that is available to you. We are nationwide. We're even moving up. We're up in Scotland. We've got a few instructors, I think, in Ireland now. They're doing another instructor course there. And we've even got some instructors in Canada now. And then once you can liaise with them, there's usually links to their websites or their Facebook pages, and get in contact with them and sort out getting an intro in. And once you've done your intro, the joys of Mantrailing UK is you can take it on holiday, because you can come and trail with any instructor. So if you do your intro in Wales and you decide you're going to go to Cornwall on holiday, we've got an instructor down in Cornwall. You can just jump on one of their sessions and take Mantrailing on holiday.
Fantastic. So everything you've just covered, I'm going to add to the show notes below. If anybody's trying to find Natasha, you can find all the information there. What has been your best sort of Mantrailing experience to date, Natasha?
Oh, I have loads. If you look on my Facebook page, like every session is like the best session in the world. My main thing that I love about Mantrailing personally, because I'm really intrigued by dogs' body language and helping the handler understand their dog, because obviously I do this a lot, so I see lots of little telltale signs in the dog quite a few weeks, sometimes months before the handler. So it's when you see the dog and handler become one, and I just literally am walking behind you going, I don't need to tell you anything because you understand, you're reading your dog, you're absolutely epic. And I use those words a lot. Epic, awesome, amazing. I do love it. And I love doing it with my own dogs, but I probably love it. That's why I became an instructor. I love helping other people love Mantrailing as much as I do.
It sounds really exciting. And as soon as we come off recording this podcast, I'm going to definitely go and have a little look at it and find out more about it. But talking about a little bit more what you've just said about body language, that's a really fantastic skill to get your head around, to understand what your dog is telling us. It really goes across the spectrum of things we do with our dogs, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And with Mantrailing, it's not a dog sport that you have to do every week. If you want to pick it up and drop it, it's fine, because there's an element of it. Dogs are naturally good at it. Yeah, you can do it once a month, once every other month. I've got clients that come every week, and I've got some that come intermittently. And yeah, they might not progress quite the same, but the dogs still come back into it pretty much where they were when they left it.
Well, a big thank you to you, Natasha, for recording this podcast with us. It's been absolutely insightful. To those listening, I hope you've really, really enjoyed, and that you found out more about a new sport or new hobby that you could enjoy with you and your dog. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed recording it, and we look forward to speaking to you all next week. Thank you for listening to LWDG Pod Dog with me, Jo Perrott. Now, we all know training a dog takes time, energy and patience, but our lives can be really, really busy. Don't worry, the LWDG has got you covered. Join us for our free planning workshop, where we'll show you how to use short 10-minute training sessions each day to fast forward your dog's education. Our experts have years of experience in training dogs and will help you get started on the right foot. Register now and start making progress with your furry friend today. Go to our Facebook page, the Ladies Working Dog Group, and click on the pinned post, or visit www.thelwdg.com.